Welcome to Strategy Battle Games, another GBHL YouTube video. You hear me host GBHL Damian, and this is my hobby vlog number 46. As you can see me and you can't see a desk, which means that this is a slightly different hobby vlog to normal. So, as anyone's been following this process for a while will know, at the start of this year, in my hobby vlog number 31, I laid out my plans for the year, my hobby plans for the year, I think it was called, for 2016, and what I was kind of hoping to get done in that year. I've got some little notes here. So basically, this video is going to be looking back on that, seeing how well I did, how well I met my targets. Spoilers, I didn't, and then figuring out kind of what I'm going to do going forward. So this came about because I think I put a post up on the Facebook group about a year ago, sort of saying, you know, how many models have you painted and all those sorts of things, because I was getting a bit depressed about how many I still had to paint, and it was some sort of motivational thing. But basically, in 2015, I painted 54 models. So what I then did for 2016 was to set aside all the models I wanted to paint. Obviously, I might have got distracted by some things at various points, but in an ideal world, and then I aimed to paint 60 models in 2016. That was the plan. That's what I set out to do. So my hope for the year was to paint 60 models, which would be more models than the previous year. So what I'm now going to do is show you everything I painted in 2016. So here we go, and things started out kind of fairly well. I started out by finishing off Yazneg and Fimbul. I'm not going to spend too long on these because you've seen them all in detail before in various hobby vlogs. But there is Fimbul, who's now been rebased onto a Matt Davies Forgotten Dungeon base, so you can match the rest of my army. And here is Yazneg, who's also been rebased. I don't think I've actually shown you Yazneg on his Forgotten Dungeon base because he's been put back on fairly recently. So those are my first two models that I painted. I'm very happy with those. And they were kind of leftovers from, they were half painted at the start of the year. So I just wanted to kind of get them done to kind of clear them out and get them out of the backlog. So I did them at near the start of January. And then we moved over here, where I painted this lovely lady, which was Galadriel. And she was in January as well, and I was really, really happy with her. And how she turned out. Tricky model to paint, I think, with lots of white and the hair and stuff, but as you've seen before, I was very pleased with her. And the reason, shortly after I painted her, I painted this chap, which is the original Fellowship Gandalf the Grey, and he was painted either in February, like kind of start of February, I think. So I was basically, once I started my hobby vlogs, I was doing like a hero a week, and it was all going very well. And yes, as some of you will now know, I don't know if you joined the dots on the whole hobby vlog thing, but the reason I was painting these two guys up specifically was for this. Issue 3 of SBG Magazine, which we launched in April, I believe, at the Destination Stockport. So neither of those two models are on the cover, but both of those two models were painted up specifically to go inside this issue of the magazine. And it goes without saying, as is often the case, we're very, very pleased with this. And why am I bringing this up now? It is part of my hobby. A lot of my hobby time goes into this, so I do consider this sort of part of what I have achieved in the year to have done this kind of issue. But also, more importantly for the hobby vlog, it has a huge impact on my painting time. And after a kind of cracking start, where I got these 4 done at the rate of about here a week, I then didn't paint anything until August, which was quite distressing. And I don't really know why, given this was out in April, but quite what I was doing May, June, July. I don't know. It's the end of the term for me, so there's a lot of kind of extra work on for me. So I think that had something to do with it. But it was really bad hobby time for me, and I didn't paint a single model until August. But then I did come back in August with these guys. Selection of Mounted Heroes. So I can't remember if we started off with the Knights or with Megalus, but we got Megalus done, hopefully with some hints of blue on the Orchrus. Of course, Megalus is now, following the release of There and Back Again, gone from the game, but of course you can still use him as Legolas on horse with Orchrus. So I got him done. I also got my Mirkwood Knights done. There they are, which I was very happy with. as I've said at length before, horrible models to assemble, but lovely looking models. Quite keen to try these out in a game now that they've had a bit of a boost, getting natural defense 5 and the option for a shield. I mean, you can get them to defense 6, might make them, I think, slightly more viable. And the last of this little group was Gandalf the Grey. Mounted Gandalf the Grey. There he is. Lovely, lovely model. Who is now available again. And I think I painted him he became available again for the first time at Warhammer Fest, didn't he? I think I did him just before that. I think I got him done just before that stuff. So yeah, I painted those 4 heroes. They were all on the kind of list that I went through for 2016, painting up some kind of cavalry models, which were quite good. But then I deviated. And the reason I deviated was because I then painted this dear lady and her friends, who's now effectively been called Gribbles McGee. So I got 2 little broodlings. I've actually got a 3rd broodling swarm now, courtesy of Rage Olsen. So on the off chance you watch this, thank you very much. I haven't managed to paint that up just yet. I did 2 little swarms of broodlings and Gribbles McGee, who I was really, really pleased with. Focused on this a lot in my hobby vlogs, but you can see the Spider Queen kind of got a complete repose to get away from that kind of flat version of her that I'm really not keen on, and put her on this kind of offcut of Osgiliath Ruins to make it look like she's kind of crawling down somewhere in Dol Guldur. And she came out really well. I was very happy with her, and the reason I painted up her, and actually the reason that all these guys got painted up as well, was for this. Issue 4 of SBG Magazine, which came around as our fastest ever turnaround between issues, because this was released in October at Ardacon. So we were very, very pleased to get a second issue out within 6 months of issue 3, I believe this one came out. So we're pleased with that. So of course, all of these models, the Spider Queen, the Broodlings and Leggy, Gandalf and the Knights, they all feature in this issue, and particularly in this issue's battle report. Won't spoil it, how they get on for anyone who hasn't read it yet. Where have you been? But again, that had a huge knock-on effect. So despite the fact I came back in August doing these guys and getting these done, I then didn't do anything else for a while. It wasn't actually that long, but then I started a brand new project, which was this, and suddenly things painting wise start to look healthier. So this was my Gundabad Orc army, affectionately referred to on the hobby vlogs as Project Gundabad, and this was all painted up for focus for Warhammer World doubles, which I went along with Adam, and we had a great time, and I really, really enjoyed it. And this whole army was painted specifically for that. And if you followed my hobby vlogs, I think there's about 6 through September and October, you'll see how this whole project was completed. But this was a real. I'm really proud of this army. It's the first time I've ever done something different with my bases, and I used Matt Davis's Forgotten Dungeon ones. You see them all there, they look cool. Every one of these Gundabads is unique because they were all converted and reposed, so they'd all look a bit different. And I'm really, really chuffed with this army, and it's also a great start now to an Azog's Legion army, which is really, really cool. Down here we've got some heroes. I didn't paint these, but I rebased them. So there's Yazneg now on his new Forgotten Dungeon base, which again, I don't think you will have seen on the camera, if you care about such small things. There was Boilag, my leader, on his big rock. Azog, who was rebased onto a 50mm Forgotten Dungeon base, and Thimble, who was also rebased. And over here we've got Gore, the Keeper of the Dungeons, who was rebased, and we've got, at the time I used him at doubles for a Hunter Orc Captain, because the Darren Backingham wasn't out. We've got Bolg on foot, and we've got my Mickey Mouse Gundabad Captain. So those heroes, I painted both versions of Bolg and the Gundabad Captain, but Azog, Yazneg, Thimble and the Keeper of the Dungeons were all just rebased to match the theme. And that's the same reason these two have got this over here. Also, as part of this army, If you remember, I made this, which is definitely hobby related, which is Bolg, the Bringer of Death, and it was Bolg's kill counter, which I've used a couple of tournaments since. I use these little heads on spikes to track Bolg's kills for his Bringer of Death rule. Put that back in there. There we go. So yeah, that's the army. Really, really tough fit, and I'm actually right now starting to work on some of the newer stuff to add to this. But it was cool to get a brand new army done. This was all in the 2016 box. This was meant to be done, but certainly doing it for doubles gave me some really good motivation to make sure that it did all manage to get done. So it's safe to say the Gbad's kind of saved my year, my hobby year in a way, by bumping the numbers up quite considerably. But there we go, that is what I painted. So my whole Gbad army, bit of scenery at the back, 2 issues of SBG, Spider Queen and Broodlings, a few good cavalry models and a few heroes over here, and it amounts to 38 models. 38 models, so not quite the 60 I had hoped for. So it's quite, I'm proud of these models. I think they look good, but it's also very, very depressing when you consider that. So I know, like World Champion, for example, painted 90 over Christmas. So you know, it's always a frustration for me that I'm pleased with how my models turn out, but my rate of painting is absolutely awful. So it was a bit. I was hoping when I counted them all up and laid them out for this, I was really hoping that I might have hit 60, and then I realised I'd come in quite considerably under. But there we go. So that is what I managed to get painted in 2016. Not too shabby, I suppose, but far from impressive, I think. So what I'm now going to do is show you what I'm going to try and do in 2017. So there we are. That's what I had. That's what I managed to paint. So what I thought would be fun to do is have a look at this. Here we are, the 2016 box, and see what I tried to paint last year, rather than see where I sort of fell down. So first things first, there was a whole load of Lake Town stuff. There was a load of Lake Town guards, some Lake Town militia, a couple of heroes, and all sorts of stuff like that. And I'm pleased to say there is some progress on this. Now I haven't actually shown these off in a hobby vlog yet, but they will be coming in some weeks to come as I start making progress on them. I've actually, over Christmas this year, I did a load of kind of prep, cleaning up like I normally do. So I've actually got some progress on this tray of Lake Towners. So these guys didn't get painted. They're all on the to-do list. So hopefully you can see we've got like the kind of militia guys. There's a few heroes on there. I've also got all my painted Lake Town here because they will be being rebased. And over here we also have the Champions of Erebor, and I don't know if you remember, but the Champions of Erebor were in exactly this state this time last year. I cleaned them up and assembled them over Christmas. They were also on the to-do list. I've got here a bunch of Broken White City bases from Matt Davis, which I'm going to be using and painting up for this stuff to be Dale. So I'm quite looking forward to doing these, but if I lay out the heroes, there's a couple of cool heroes on here. So hopefully you can see there, we've got a Lake Town captain, Bard with the Wind Lance. Don't focus on me, focus on Bard. Bard with the Wind Lance, militia captain, and the Master of Lake Town, as well as some Lake Towners. So all of those guys were on the list to do and didn't make it, but they are now relatively high up the priorities list. I would look for them to be started probably in the next few weeks, to be honest. You'll start seeing some progress on some of those. Champions of Erebor were also on the list to do last year. Didn't happen. I think they were actually the thing I suggested I was going to do first. Didn't happen, didn't get close. I would like to get them done this year. I see them being, again, relatively high up the priority list, but who knows. There we go. Lake Town and Champions of Erebor. So also here we've got some other bits of Lake Town that didn't get assembled yet. So I've got some the Wind Lance, which is going down there, and some Lake Town Guard. So they were in the 2016 box. They are still on the 2017 box, as it now becomes. I also had 2 versions of Radagast. We had Radagast the Brown on Eagle and Radagast the Brown on Slay. They were hoping to be painted last year. It didn't happen. What I did manage to do is get this beautiful thing, which is Matt Davis's oval base, oval forest base. I can't remember quite what it's called. Gloomy Forest, I think it is, which I'm going to use for Radagast. He was so close. He was so close to being started. I can't remember when. I think maybe before the Iron Hills stuff came out. He was going to be next, and he just got bumped. But I still really want to do the sleigh. I really want to have that model done. So that's staying in the collection, ready for this year. What else do we have? We had this guy, a Wild Chieftain, who's made a little more progress. He's come out of the blister. He's got a 50mm base. He's got a dead Hunter Orc on there that I'm going to replace the dead Rohan guy with. So he's got it's going to look more like he's in Dol Guldur, and he kind of kills the orcs, kind of like he does at at Weathertop. Is she still on the list? Then there was a whole bunch of monsters. So we had the trolls, the 3 trolls, which are incredibly cool models. We had the Watcher in the Water. We had the Great Beast of Gorgoroth, and we had the In the Clutches of Shelob set. They were also in the 2016 box. And then finally, I think the last big thing we had was finally some Justice for Dale. 2 boxes of Dale Warriors, and then Girion and a Captain Dale. I don't actually. I think maybe I didn't have the Captain. I think maybe I got the Captain this year. But Girion and a Captain Dale. So that's the stuff that didn't get done. So as you can see, it's fairly. It was fairly catastrophic. But a slight saving grace on this is, I don't know if you, again looking back, I hadn't actually finished all my 2015 models. I had a bunch of elves to do, like the like Galadriel and the Mirkwood Knights and Megalus. So I actually, after doing this, I said, I think I'm being unrealistic. And what I bumped from the list was the Great Beast of Gorgoroth, the Watcher in the Water, and Dale. So they weren't ever, they weren't actually meant to kind of make the cut, as it were, this year. So what I actually didn't do is the 3 trolls, the 2 versions of Radagast, the Lake Towners, and the Champions of Erebor. That's what I dropped. So it's I mean, it's still a lot, right? It's more than I did. I didn't do more than I did, which is fairly depressing. But yeah, I'd hoped to do 60 by painting all of that stuff, ignoring the Watcher, the Great Beast, and Dale. I would have painted. I was hoping for about 60 models, and as it was, I did 38. So yeah, the time has come down. It's the start of a new year to reassess and see what I'm going to do. So first things first, the easiest cull is the Watcher, the Great Beast, and Shelob are getting bumped. They're going back into the other box because they're at the end of the queue this year, and they're certainly they're not getting any higher. They're in the end of the queue last year. They're not getting any higher this year. So they're going, and then I'm going to keep everything else, essentially. Some other things kind of crept in. There's a box of Hunter Orcs here on Fell Wargs after I did my Project Gundabad that made it in. That I think I will keep in. I've actually started painting their bases. I'm not sure if you've seen those. I've started painting some Forgotten Dungeon bases first. So these guys are going to stay in. And at this point, what I'm going to do is we have the 2016 box. Oh yes. By the power of magic, it is now the 2017 box. So yeah, just like that, just reuse that box. Mad box skills. So the trolls are staying in. These Hunter Orcs are going in the hope I might get a bit of cavalry, but they're already fairly low down the list again. Both Raddies are staying. Certainly Raddy on Slay. Really want to find some time to do that. That's a gorgeous model. Obviously that means the base goes in. I've also added this guy, Finecast Gandalf, who got added into the mix a while back. You may have seen that I quite like painting Gandalfs. I've done quite a few recently, and it's been a while since I painted Gandalf. And this is just a gorgeous model. So he's going in, hopefully. Wild Chieftain goes in. The remaining Lake Town packets go in, because Lake Town's definitely a project that I'm kind of starting the year with, and Dale are going in. So I really like the Dale models, so all this Dale stuff is going in as well. So that's all that's in the box, and certainly for now is all that's going in the box. Obviously, kind of in the box, but they're already out of the box, is this little lot, the Lake Towners. All the Lake Towners are the kind of first project. Also, these Lake Towners obviously include the Champions Variable, so they're still on the table for this year. Someone actually asked on the group what your hobby goals for 2017, and my answer was to paint the models that I said I'd paint in 2016. So that's kind of it. That's what I'm hoping to do. Also, I'll show you some sneaky work in progress stuff, which is this. It started over Christmas. It's like the rest of the world. I've been painting some Iron Hills dwarfs. I've started work on these again, and you see that I have Raven Outpost, Generation Shift Raven Outpost bases that have all been painted for them. So these are work in progress, but they've been paused for what I'm currently working on. So I've also got this tray. I got a bit unenthused about the dwarfs, to be honest, halfway through. I'm not really halfway through, but I don't know why. I've also got a Ballista half painted and Dane half painted. These will all be coming to a hobby vlog near you soon, once I kind of get them in the right place in the queue. So rest assured you'll get a decent look at these, but they are obviously on the list. And then also on the list in these wonderful days is anything else that comes out, which is why the whole thing's up in the air these days. So I know certainly 2 ogres and 1 of the Gbad trolls I'll be getting when they come out. I'm not too fussed about the goat riders at the moment. I love the models, but I don't think I'll have the money, and they're not particularly how I see my little Iron Hills force going, so I probably won't do them. But those are the things I'm going to be doing in 2016. Now, some caveat, 2017, sorry, some caveats on this. I think in a normal year, I haven't counted up. I don't know how many models that is. I probably won't get all that done again. This is the way the world works, right? In a normal year, and then as you know, at the start of April, all being well, I'm going to have a little tiny baby, and that will probably stop me doing anything ever again, as I believe. But who knows what kind of impact that will have. So this is my optimistic bet of what I'll do this year. Whether or not I do is a very, very, very different matter indeed. Also, some of my hobby time will be given up to this, because we will be launching issue 5 this year, which is going to take over even more of my time. So issue 5, we're hoping for a summer release, and with that in mind, if I'm honest, issue 6 probably won't come out this year, I would think. It would be, I suppose it's possible, but it would be quite a good turnaround for us to get that out. But who knows? Anything's possible. But yeah, so those are my hobby goals really. Paint this year. Paint a bunch of Iron Hills dwarfs. Paint a bunch of Lake Town. Paint the Champions Variable. Paint a bunch of Dale, and then some bonus bits on the side. And you know, I might do cool things like the Spider Queen as well. I really enjoyed that. Part of the wonderful thing about this hobby, I don't know if you agree with this, is when suddenly a little mini project comes up and you have to go digging around in all your old figure cases trying to find some dusty old model that you're going to paint that you had no clue whatsoever you'd be painting the week before. That's exactly what happened with the Spider Queen for me. And I'm sure there'll be kind of little bits like that throughout the year where I suddenly get an urge or a need or a hankering to go and just paint one other model, completely different model or something. And that will be, I'll hope to do that as well. But yeah, so that's what I'm hoping to achieve this year. And obviously, if you enjoy this stuff, you can follow the hobby vlogs throughout the year and see how I get on. I'm optimistic that at least until April, I've actually, the way everything's going, got a fair bit of hobby time by my standards. So my hope is that before the baby arrives, on here, I will have painted the Lake Town stuff. Is the main thing I want to do before the baby arrives. All the Lake Town stuff hopefully will be done, and some Iron Hills dwarfs, I suppose, are part of that plan. I think, maybe before the baby arrives, and like the ogres and the troll, whenever that troll comes out, I'll be doing quite early some Gbad berserkers, so those kind of things. That's what I'm hoping to do before the baby comes out, and we'll see how successful I am in that, I suppose. So yeah, I hope you enjoy that. Let me know what you think in the comments below, what you're planning to do in the year, and maybe we can go on this fabulous journey together. So yes, until next time, don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. Support your Hobbit host by clicking in the links below. Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Support your Hobbit hobby, and happy strategy battle gaming. I'm never ever going to get it all done.